You're either one of two types of people. Either one, you work on your car and do everything at home, or two, you do everything at a shop. But with shop costs coming higher and higher, it's becoming more expensive to take your car to the shop. And for home mechanics, there's just some times where you're doing things and you end up having to watch a Chris Fix video because you don't know how to do something.
Hey guys, Chris Fix here.
So today we think we have a solution to that problem, AI. So we're gonna take a service like ChatGPT and see if it can turn someone who knows nothing about cars into like a really decent home mechanic. What we're gonna be doing is taking the AI through 3 increasingly difficult tasks, starting at an oil change and going to something that even a home mechanic would have trouble doing. We're gonna be following Chat's instructions exactly to see how well it can tell you how to do these things. Will it make any mistakes? Will we break our cars in this process? Make sure you stay to the end of the video to find out.
I almost thought for a second.
Wait until the engine is completely.
So here at Jax, we've done hundreds of oil changes, and it's something anyone should be able to do on their car. All you need is a basic set of hand tools, a big wrench, and something to catch the oil with. What we're gonna do is see how the AI can tell us how to do it and how accurate and concise it is at getting someone who knows nothing about an oil change, how to do an oil change. ChatGPT, I am a really beginner mechanic and know almost nothing about working on cars, and I want to do an oil change. How do I do an oil change step by step on a 2003 Mercedes C230?
Chat, what are you doing?
It's thinking.
It's really thinking.
Doing an oil change on your 2003 Mercedes C230 is a great way to start learning
Why
about
does
car
she sound so hot?
Tools and materials you'll need.
Okay.
Engine oil, 5 out of 40 synthetic. Oil filter wrench, usually 13 millimeters for the drain plug. Oil drain pan to catch old oil. Funnel.
Fair.
Pouring new oil.
Okay.
Rags or paper towels to clean up
Wow,
spills.
she is concise.
Car jack and jack stands, or ramps for easier access.
Yo! So, okay, I stopped it talking because it was just gonna go through the whole thing. That's really crazy. That was really
she was concise.
surreal experience. Okay, so a couple things I just mentioned, which I'm gonna put. First of all, I said 5W40 synthetic oil, but 0W40 is what we generally put in this car. Sometimes the AIs are weird because if someone on one forum one time was like, it's 5W30, it might pull that, and then we actually had that issue in your Accord the other day. Couple big things. It mentioned the oil drain. It mentioned the socket, which is a 13 millimeter, which we will grab only a 13 millimeter when we go grab our sockets. That's all we're grabbing. It said specifically get a car jack or ramps. We highly recommend getting ramps. If you want to do car work on your own, ramps are safer, easier, and make your life 1,000 times better. Yeah, I mean, it said it needs a torque wrench, it needs a 13 millimeter socket. We need an oil filter wrench, which we do not have, but it's fine because you can use a big pair of channel locks. Yeah, let's go get everything they told us to get, and then we'll be right back. We've got all the stuff that she wanted. Let's see what she has to say, step by step. They want us to park it on a level surface and engage the parking brake. Well, we're gonna be using ramps, so we don't need to do that because it's different. So I'm gonna ask you real quick how to put a car up on ramps. ChatGPT, how do I put a car up on ramps?
Putting a car up on ramps is a simple but important process that requires careful attention to safety. 1. Choose a safe location. Park on a flat, level surface to ensure stability. Position the ramps. Align the ramps with the front wheels or rear wheels if you're working on the rear of the car. Make sure the ramps are straight and centered with the tires. 3. Engage the parking brake. Before driving up, apply the parking brake to prevent rolling if you need to reposition. 4. Drive up slowly. Shift into drive. Slowly accelerate up the ramps in a smooth and controlled manner.
With all that list of stuff, it's pretty good. It basically says, put the ramps in front of the car, drive it up, make sure there's enough space, blah, blah. The only thing that's weird is it said to engage the parking brake before you drive up.
So you're gonna drive with the parking brake on?
Don't do that. Go up on the ramp first, then engage your parking brake. But let's just do it as it says. Good. Engage parking brake. Parking brake engaged. In drive.
Oh my God, bro.
I mean, it did do it. The parking brake definitely works. I mean, look, here's neutral. I hate that worked. Yeah. Why did that work? You know what? Hey, it worked. I wouldn't recommend it, but that's fine.
But now your parking brake's on and you parked.
I guess.
I don't know, I just don't love driving on your parking brake.
No, because you just burn it out faster. Yeah. Time to look what the next step is. We got it up on ramps. Remove engine cover if needed. Open hood, remove plastic engine cover if it obstructs the oil filter housing. I will mention I did put in a prompt ahead of time to tell it to be precise. That way we would, it would be a little more precise. And you can do that just by before you talk to it about anything else, say every answer you do from this point forward, be precise. And it's being very precise. So it says remove if it instructs the oil filter housing.
Where's the oil filter?
I don't know.
But with chat now.
Oh, it's actually back here.
But with chat now.
Where's the oil filter housing on a 2003 C230 compressor?
On the 2003 Mercedes C230 compressor, the oil filter housing is located on the top of the engine, slightly toward the front. It's a black round plastic cap
Okay.
with a hex-shaped top.
It's not.
Designed to be
Is there any other places the oil filter housing could be?
No, on the 2003 Mercedes C230 compressor.
Where is it though?
The oil filter
It's back
housing
here.
is
It's on the
always
back side of the
located on
engine.
the
So,
front.
I will say this is a weird car. There weren't a lot of these, so we'll give it a fact. But it is a Google away. If you wanted to Google that, you could.
Lose a point for that?
I think we deduct a point for that. Okay. Our point system, that doesn't matter. The oil filter housing is right back here. Well, it's pretty deep. Actually, I remember this one's a pain in the ass. We don't need to remember the engine thing though to get to the oil. Let's see what it says next. Now it says to drain the old oil. It says locate the oil drain plug on the bottom of the car. Place the oil drain pan underneath. Use a socket wrench to loosen. Remove the drain plug. Be careful, oil may be hot. Oil can be hot. Let the oil drain completely, which may take a few minutes. Let's just do that.
Let's do it.
13 millimeter. Ugh. Oh, boys and girls, we have a problem. There's a plastic cover on the bottom of this engine.
You gotta ask it.
Yeah, we gotta ask
Yeah, you gotta
ChatGPT.
ask Chat.
Hey ChatGPT, car I'm doing the oil change on has a plastic cover underneath the whole thing and I can't find the oil drain plug. It's thinking.
The 2003 Mercedes
Oh.
C230 compressor has an under-tray belly pan that covers the underside of the engine,
It does.
which helps with aerodynamics and protects components
Oh.
from road debris. To access the oil drain plug, you'll need to remove this plastic cover. Gather the necessary tools. A socket wrench, typically 8 millimeters or 10 millimeters, but check for exact size to
Oh.
lift the car safely. Drive the car on.
Okay, now we've already lifted the car. We're good. We're good. We got that part. 8 millimeter sockets.
Use your flat hand.
Oh, thank you, sir. Got a flat head and an 8 millimeter and
8
10.
or 10.
8 or 10. I believe it's the 8. It is, in fact, the 8. So one thing I will say is I'm actually impressed that that's actually impressive. I got under here and I was like, the car I'm working on. I didn't even say what car it was because it already knows.
You just said this car has a skid plate I can't get to the drain plug.
Yeah, and it already knew it was an 8 or 10 mil, and the drain plug was underneath. Okay, the next thing ChatGPT told us to do is loosen the drain plug and take the drain plug off. So pan underneath, like it said. That is a 13. Sick. Okay, we cracked it loose. Ah! Okay, well, now we just gotta wait a few minutes. Hey ChatGPT, while my oil is draining for a few minutes, can you tell me a story?
Here's a fun little car-related story for
Oh.
you while you wait. The mysterious knock. Jake had always loved working on cars, even though he was still learning the ropes. One day, his old Mazda Miata started making a strange knocking sound every time he hit the gas. Determined to solve the mystery, he grabbed his tools and crawled under the car, flashlight in hand. Maybe it's something simple, he muttered, hoping for an easy fix. After checking the exhaust, the suspension, and even the drive shaft, he couldn't find anything obvious. Frustrated, he decided to take it for one more test drive. As he cruised down the street, the knocking sound returned, louder than ever. Just as he was about to pull over, his phone buzzed in the cup holder. "Hey man," his friend Chris said over the speaker. "Did you check your trunk?" "My trunk?" Jake frowned. Why would it be coming from the... He pulled over, popped the trunk, and there it was. A loose wrench rolling around in the spare tire well.
I thought there was a body back there.
Shaking his head and laughing, he realized sometimes the simplest solutions are the last ones.
I thought it started out like kind of like horror vibes, you know?
Yeah, I was like,
Like-
damn. I was like, I don't think you could fit someone in the back of a Miata truck.
No, I mean, no. That was a good story.
That was a good
though.
story.
That was low-key enjoyable.
I bet you the oil's done draining.
Yeah, let's go check the story.
So, oil is almost done draining. I think we're ready to put the stuff back on, but let's see what ChatGPT says we have to do, because this is so far what we know. And she is right here. You drain the oil completely, which may take a few minutes. Inspect the drain plug washer. Looks pretty shiny, so I'm gonna say it's not worn. And then it says reinstall drain plug and tighten it to recommended torque, typically around 22 foot-pounds. So we're gonna reinstall it. we don't usually torque down our drain plug bolts because most people don't have a torque wrench at home. I would never recommend torquing for someone. So I'm gonna say we don't, but just for the viewers at home, if you are doing this yourself, yes, torquing it will 100% work, and exactly what they said is the correct way of doing this. We're gonna give it a single ugga-dugga.
Yeah, that's plenty.
That's all you need. So the next thing it tells us to do is replace the oil filter, which on this thing, it says it's on the front of the engine. It's not. We're not gonna dock. We'll maybe dock a point off for it, like we said earlier. It also doesn't give the correct wrench size because it just says use an oil filter wrench. Because this car is rare, I don't want to give it a point like off, but like,
it should know. It's
yeah, it should know. It should know. We'll give it. It should know. Point off. We said to get channel locks because generally, so normally filters are much bigger. They're like this big around. So instead of buying an oil filter wrench, like for like the 15 bucks it is at AutoZone, you just have a channel locks. You just grab the filter like this and move it, and generally that will do most cars. Oof. Oil's everywhere. Okay, what do you think ChatGPT has to say about this? Pull out the old oil filter and replace the rubber O-ring on the cap with a new one provided with the filter. So, got the new filter. So there's the filter off. Generally, you just put this guy back on like this, but it wants us to replace the O-ring, which is around this side right here. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna use a screwdriver just because it told us to get a screwdriver earlier. I would use my knife or like a pick. We're sticking with the code. We're sticking with what it said. So pull that O-ring off. Do I replace all of them? It didn't say to replace.
No, only replace the one that said.
Okay.
Oh, no, you're getting oil on your new filter.
It says insert new filter and screw the cap back on and tighten to the specified torque, usually 18 foot-pounds. 18 foot-pounds seems kind of a lot. It does say on the top of the filter, 24 Newton meters. Right here on the screen is what 24 Newton meters is in foot-pounds. We just get it really tight. A lot of filters, like the normal ones, you can just screw on by hand, and then you just get it real tight. So generally there are 2 other O-rings you would replace when you do this. For shits and giggles though, we're just not gonna put those 2 O-rings back in. It's what it told us to do. And honestly, it really doesn't matter that much. Okay, let's see what she says to do next. Add new oil. Remove the oil filter cap on the top of the engine. Using a funnel, put new oil in about 5 quarts, but check your manual for capacity. It should really tell you what the capacity is because it's not 5 quarts. You know what? It is about 5. It's 5.4. ChatGPT, how much oil do I need to put in my C230K during an oil change?
The engine oil capacity is approximately 5.5 quarts, 5.2 liters, when performing an oil and filter change.
There it goes. Okay, so it knew, it just didn't give it to me at that point. So using a funnel, we will put one of these whole things is 5 quarts and half quart. These are 1 quart containers. So we're gonna put a half of this guy in. There we go, 5.5 quarts. Add new oil, replace oil filter cap, or filler cap. Start engine, let run for a minute to circulate new oil. Use dipstick to check oil level, adding oil if necessary to reach the correct mark. Fun fact, this car doesn't have a dipstick. And then dispose of old oil properly. Take to a recycling center or auto parts store. And then it says reset the oil light, and it actually tells me how to do it. So let's back thing off the ramps. Let's reset the oil light, because that's basically the next thing we have to do here. Yeah.
This is better than we are.
This is better. I wouldn't reset the oil light, I'd just leave it going. What it says is to take the key in the ignition. Position 2, do not start. 1, 2. And then it says press the R button on the instrument cluster twice. Go back to 0, and then back to 2, and then hold the R button. It didn't work. So just try one more time.
Yeah, just try one more time. Just.
Okay, off, position 2. Press twice, turn key to 0, then back to position 2, then hold R. Oh, wait, it worked.
Nice.
Oh shit!
Hell yeah.
Service in 10,000 miles, whoa. It just recommends 10,000 miles right out the bat, that's crazy. That's successful. Honestly, first test, pretty dang good. We had about 3 things we kind of knocked points off for, but we gave it back because this car's kind of weird, so I don't really blame it too much. And honestly, whenever we asked the questions, it gave us answers. I really do think that you could like know nothing at all about cars and you could follow the instructions that it gave you and do your own oil change. But this is also one of the easiest things to do on a car. The first thing anyone learns how to do on a car. The next thing we're gonna try doing is a little bit harder, and that is
brakes. While oil changes are generally the exact same steps on every car, brakes are a little bit more difficult. So it's gonna be interesting to see how Chat works us through the brake pad replacement on the 2014 Honda Accord. Hey chat, how do I change the front brake pads on my 2014 Honda Accord Touring step by step? So weird. It looks like it's like thinking, you know.
Here's a step-by-step guide to changing the front brake pads on your 2014 Honda Accord Touring. Tools and supplies needed: jack and jack stands, lug wrench, socket set 12mm and 17mm, C-clamp or brake caliper tool, brake cleaner, new brake pads, anti-squeal brake grease, torque wrench, flathead screwdriver, optional.
Okay, so I just need to say off the rip, she's very concise with the tools. She even thought about brake clean, the lube so the new pads don't squeal, and a C-clamp or brake caliper tool. So she really thought of everything. Okay, all right, let's go get all these tools. Okay, so now that we got all the tools that we need, we're gonna see what the first step is. Safety first, park your car on a level surface, engage the parking brake, and wear safety gloves and glasses. I'll put on the parking brake. Step 2, loosen the lug nuts. Before lifting the vehicle, use a lug wrench to slightly loosen the front wheel lug nuts, but do not remove them completely, which is actually very good advice. So let's do that. There we go. Yeah, that was one. We have a much easier way to do this. Step number 3, lift the vehicle, use a jack to raise the front of the car and place it securely on jack stand. Hey chat, how do I jack up my 2014 Honda Accord Touring?
Jacking up your 2014 Honda Accord Touring safely and correctly is important to avoid damage and ensure stability. Honda provides specific jack points for safe lifting. Front jack point, located under the engine on the subframe. It's a reinforced central lifting point near the front cross member.
All right, thank you chat. In chat we trust. This car does have a lot of travel, remember. CRV looking ass. Place the jack stands, position the jack stands under the pinch welds or subframe points near the jack. We don't generally love using the jacks under the pinch welds. Because we're keeping the jack there the whole project, these are basically for safety. Fully remove the loosened lug nuts and take off the front wheels to access the brake components. Okay, and here's one extra tidbit that chat isn't gonna tell us, but we're gonna tell you. For an extra safety bonus, you can just take your wheel, flatten it out, and slide it under the car. So now you have another thing that the car would fall on before it hit you. Step 5, remove the brake caliper. Locate the caliper bolts, typically 12mm, on the back of the caliper. Remove them carefully and slide the caliper off the brake rotor. Support it with a bungee cord or place it on a stable surface to avoid stress on the brake line. Yeah. Yo, chat knows what's up, dude. I was gonna say that when we kept going in the video, but she beat me to it. Let's get our 12, because it said we can have a 12. Finding the 12 on the back. Oh, it's not a 12, it's a 14. I don't even think you can lose a point for that though, because if you bought the socket set to do this, like it told you the tools you need and then you bought the socket set, you would have a 12 and a 14.
Yeah, you're right.
So the step was to remove these bolts. That's what we will be doing. Oh my goodness. There's one. There's two. Oh wow, that's grimy. Okay, these are grimy.
Read what it says.
Oh, right.
What are you removing, Ben? What is that?
I don't know what I'm doing, I'm sorry. I almost thought for a second. Okay, take out the old brake pads. I can do it now?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. It doesn't actually look that bad. Okay, take out the old brake pads. Inspect the rotor and hardware. Check the rotor for excessive wear or scoring. Also inspect the caliper pins and make sure they move freely. Our rotor, like if your brake pads are cutting into your rotor, you'll see these harsh ridges, but our rotor looks pretty good. Yeah, these are the springs for the caliper to squeeze and release, and they both move pretty freely. Press the caliper piston. Use a C-clamp or a brake caliper tool to slowly push the caliper piston back into its housing. This will create enough space for the new, thicker brake pads. If I didn't know what that is, I can also just do a quick Google image search and learn very quickly that this is the caliper and this is the caliper housing. Now, if you guys don't have a push tool like this, you can rent one from AutoZone or O'Reilly's or any of those spots for free. It's just like a $60 deposit or something like that. Go, dude. Compress. Just finished getting that guy compressed. Install new brake pads. Step number 9. Apply a smaller amount of anti-squeal grease to the back of the new pads where they contact the caliper. Slide the new pads into place. There's 1, 2, I'll put a little on the ridges. I like to put a little on the ridges so that they can slide easily. So chat will learn that from this YouTube video. Okay, there they are. Install new brake pads, we did that. Reinstall the brake caliper. Position the caliper back over the rotor and new pads, then reinstall the caliper bolts. Tighten them to the recommended torque, usually around 25-30 foot-pounds. Check your owner's manual. Well, that was that. Wow, okay. One thing you do have to be aware of is not twisting your brake line. So make sure that's straight when you put this guy back on. She didn't say anything about that.
I wouldn't point that one off.
I know, I'm just trying to nitpick at this point. Wow, did you hear that? 25 foot-pounds of torque right there. But really though, I've never torqued down brake caliper bolts. It's kind of like the oil drain plug. Like as long as you know it's tight and it's not going anywhere, you should be good. Reinstall the brake caliper, we did that. Reinstall the wheels. Okay, let's do it. You said hand tight. I should use that a little. The problem is I'm already saying her. I'm saying like she's.
Yeah, you are saying, because it is.
I'm saying it a lot.
She's talking to you.
The whole time I've said, what's she say next? That's the alarming part. I feel really old school right now. What's the next step? Torque the lug nuts. Tighten the lug nuts in a crisscross pattern. Nice, Sam and I were worried if it was gonna know that or say that. In a crisscross pattern to the manufacturer's specified torque, usually around 80 to 90 pounds. Let's say you did go to AutoZone, you did rent this and the brake caliper toolkit. So now, all we're gonna do is we're gonna whip this baby out. We're gonna set it to 80 pounds, but I don't know how to do that. What the f does that even mean? How do I set a torque wrench to 80 foot-pounds?
Setting a torque wrench to 80 foot-pounds is straightforward if you follow these steps carefully.
Okay.
Many click-type wrenches have a locking mechanism at the bottom of the handle,
Oh.
a little knob or twist lock.
Oh, little knob.
Counterclockwise to unlock the adjustment. 3. Hold the handle and twist it to adjust the scale.
Wow.
Your whole number scale.
She knows way too much.
Let me know.
Okay, so she said a smooth action till it clicks. Nice. Okay, so for this last one, let's say that you didn't spend the extra money and rent the extra tool from AutoZone. So you're still stuck kicking this thing around. So we're gonna show you how to torque down with this thing. You're gonna set it on there, put pressure, make sure the bar is gonna be safe. 1, 2. That really locked in the bolt. Now, just for science sake, let's check it. 80 foot-pounds. I think even to the decimal. Step 13 is pump the brake pedal. Before driving, pump the brake pedal several times to seat the new brake pads and ensure proper brake pressure. Now I'm gonna pump the brake pedal. It's pretty soft right now. Okay, now it's really firm. Really firm. Okay. And then the last step is a test drive. So our test drive is gonna be about the 15 feet backwards. That's gonna be our test drive. Brakes work. And brakes were a little bit of a bigger challenge than the oil change. We stepped it up a little bit. We made it a little bit harder for ChatGPT, but Chat handled it really well. So for its third test of the day, we're gonna give it something really difficult.
So we're gonna diagnose and fix a misfire. This car has a pretty bad misfire in one of the cylinders, and like the 2 times before, we're gonna ask ChatGPT how to fix it. Okay, Chat. How do I fix a misfire on my car? I have a misfire on my C230K 2003 Mercedes, and I need it to be fixed.
Fixing a misfire on your 2003 Mercedes C230K involves a few steps to diagnose. First, scan for trouble codes using an OBD2 scanner. Misfires are often logged under codes like P0300, random misfire, or P3X, where X represents the cylinder number. Once you have the codes, check the most common causes. 1. Spark plugs. Inspect the plugs for wear, carbon buildup, or oil fouling. If they look worn, replace them with the correct OEM spec plugs. 2. Ignition coils. The C230K has individual coil packs per cylinder. Swap the coil from the misfiring cylinder to another and see if the misfire moves. If it does, replace the faulty coil. 3. Fuel injectors. A clogged or failing injector can cause a misfire. Check for vacuum leaks around the intake manifold, hoses, and PCV system. MAF sensor.
It's got the whole list.
Incorrect air-fuel ratios causing misfires.
I didn't even think
Clean
she
it
put
with
MAF sensor.
Cleaner. 6. Compression test. If the
Ooh,
above steps
yeah.
don't resolve the issue, perform a compression test to check for internal engine problems like worn piston rings or valve
Yeah,
issues.
that's deep. We're deep.
If you're still having trouble, it might be worth taking it to a professional for deeper diagnostics.
Thank you.
Let me know if you need.
Couple things it said. First of all, the first thing it did was spark plugs, which is the most common thing that goes bad on a car. But when you're diagnosing a misfire, it's not the first thing I check. It's actually the second step that she listed out. The second step is taking your ignition coils and actually swapping them. This car does have codes. It has the P0300 code, and it has a P0302 code, which means the second cylinder. The fuel injectors is something we're not going to mess with, and it's something I don't recommend a home mechanic messing with. A fuel injector test kit is not something that's really easy to do, and if it's multiple cylinders, it's probably just a fuel injector cleaner you can run through your thing, and it'll probably fix everything up. If it's a single cylinder, you probably don't have the tools in your home to do that. ChatGPT gave us a few steps in order to start to look for this misfire. First thing I said, look for the codes. We have those. P0300 and P0302. What we're gonna do is we're gonna ask Chat how to actually remove these ignition coils and do what it said and swap them around so that it ends up showing if the coil is bad or not, or if we have to go deeper into the spark plug. But most home mechanics can't just inspect the spark plug to find out if it's broken or not. So we're gonna do the coils first, and then we'll get to the spark plugs after if we need to. Let's do it. Okay, ChatGPT, I want to remove the ignition coils to swap them around like you said to. How do I do that on a 2003 Mercedes C230K?
Remove and swap the ignition coils on your 2003 Mercedes C230K. Follow these steps carefully. Tools you'll need: 8mm socket for coil bolts, ratchet and extension. 1. Disconnect the battery, optional. For safety,
Optional.
I like that the safety thing's optional.
Yeah, I like the optional because it's optional.
locate the ignition coils. On your C230K,
Found them.
the ignition coils are located on top of the engine.
First of all, it got it really close. It is not an 8mm, it is an E8 because it's a Mercedes and they're really complicated. Called reverse Torx. If you're working on Mercedes and something you do commonly, you will own these as a home mechanic because everything is reverse Torx in this car. So it did get one thing wrong. We'll dock that as a point because it really should have said and you need a reverse Torx or an E-bit. We have it. We have everything else though that they said we needed. I like that it says things were optional. You don't need to disconnect your battery to do this. This is not necessary at all. And I guess the first one we're just going to remove is the second one because that's the one that we have the misfire on.
What did she say? Remove them and then swap them around?
Yeah, it was remove them and then switch them. Just run it and see if it moves. The misfire moves and the code changes to a 1.
It's the ignition coil.
It's the ignition coil. So we're going to pull off this guy right here. This is the one we think might be bad. We're going to disconnect number 3 because we think this one's not misfiring currently.
Swap those, boys.
So this is the one. We're gonna take it. We're gonna be putting it back into cylinder 2. We're gonna take number 3 and put it in here, and then we'll run these guys back down. We're gonna run the car for a second and see if the misfire moves to a different cylinder or if it stays the same. She's still misfiring. We're just waiting for the codes. Okay, so code did not move. We still have a 0302 code, which means it did not move, and aka that coil is probably good. 1 to 2 other things, either one it's a spark plug or it's a fuel injector. So we will, I guess, inspect the spark plug and see what's up with it. Okay, chat, I wanna remove the spark plug to see if it's bad on my C230K. How do I remove a spark plug from the engine?
To remove a spark plug from your 2003 Mercedes C230K, spark plug socket 16mm or 5/8 has a rubber insert to grip the plug.
Okay.
Ratchet with extension, anti-seize compound, optional if recommended by the plug manufacturer.
Yeah.
1. Ensure engine is cool. Wait until the engine is completely cooled.
That is very
to prevent
important.
damage.
Very,
2.
very, very important.
Disconnect.
We already removed the ignition coil one time, so I'm not gonna have to explain it to us again. Really important thing. 1, it gave us 5/8 or a 16mm, which is perfect. We will grab that and have that over here. And really important thing, it said to make sure your engine cools down before you do this. A lot of modern engines are aluminum heads, and if we have an aluminum head, if you put a steel threaded spark plug in it and it's hot, it will expand and actually end up stripping the threads out. Very important to let your car cool down a little bit before you use spark plugs, unless it's like an emergency or something. And then also it said anti-seize if the manufacturer recommends it. Mercedes definitely recommends it. So we will probably be putting anti-seize on these as well if we put them back in. So I guess let's remove the one. Let's just follow the instructions it said. We remove the coil like we had before.
Right now we're removing number 2.
We're removing number 2 because it's still on number 2. We moved the coils, we confirmed the coil was good on number 2. Now we're checking the spark plug and seeing what the spark plug looks like. Okay, spark plug comes out. Ah, that's a problem. I wonder how that got like that. Apparently Donut came to my house and did it on my own car too.
It was like that when we got it.
Oh, was it?
No.
Throwback.
We know this is bad. As you can see, the gap on this plug is smushed, which is no good, and this will cause your car to run like crap. I'm a ChatGPT mechanic. I don't know how to make this, if this is bad or not. I wonder if it'll take a picture.
Oh, if you could take a picture and say, is this a bad spark plug? That would be crazy.
Let's find out right now. Wait.
Oh my God, you got zoomed
can't-
in and everything.
Wait, let's see. Okay, I took the picture. This is the spark plug from the misfiring cylinder. Is there anything wrong with it? Carbon fouling, electrode wear, oil contamination, recommended actions, replace the spark plug. Use correct gap specified by your Mercedes engine. So it recommends to replace it.
Yeah.
Wow, I kind of want to show it a good one. Obviously, it looks a lot better. Significantly better. So let's see what Chaz has to say about this, because I'm just interested if it just reads out random BS. Yeah, or if it actually knows that it's like something's wrong. Is this a bad spark plug, question mark? Appears to be in good condition. Here's what I observe. Look clean, no significant wear. They're intact and have defined edge. Plug is still in good shape. Wow. So it actually knows. It actually tells me to check the gap for a Mercedes between 0.032 and 0.040. So if you want to go out and buy a gap checker and check your gap, it even just told me to do that. That is pretty incredible. Obviously, us putting this in there is going to fix this misfire. So let's put it in the car and double check it did. And then we'll talk about this a little bit. Replace engine cover and then clear codes on car and then start and check for misfires. Okay, so we just cleared the codes in the car, so it has no codes anymore. We're gonna start and see what happens. Started clean.
Sounds better.
It sounds so much better. No more misfires and no more codes on the dash.
All from ChatGPT.
All from ChatGPT, the whole thing.
Nice.
Damn. So we just finished getting the misfire done on this car. It runs great now. Honestly, I am so impressed with how well this worked. Like, we kind of like said we were gonna do this video and we're like, oh, it'll screw up the whole way across. Like, it'll get worse and worse and worse. It didn't.
No, honestly, I'm like shocked, surprised, scared, all of the above. Because really though, like, we expected it to, especially as the task got harder, we expected ChatGPT to get worse. But it almost seemed like the opposite happened. Like, the brakes were slightly easier than the oil change. The misfire was like almost so easy that it took literally like 5-10 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, I could tell it's a bad spark plug.
So
like,
maybe
by taking a picture of it.
Yeah, and really concise. Didn't miss any steps. All the little details like cross pattern on putting lug nuts on, anti-seize on brakes. And these are things that you can damage your car significantly if you don't know and you're an at-home mechanic trying to do something for the first time. If I was watching this video and I was an at-home mechanic who hadn't tried a lot of things, I'd be feeling very confident.
Yeah.
With ChatGPT.
You could probably take pictures of the oil drain plug too, and it'd probably tell you, like, we didn't even think about that kind of stuff. I mean, see, I think you could give someone a wrench, a set of sockets, and they could do everything we did today. Maybe we'll have to rebuild an engine one day with it.
That'd be cool.
Maybe that'll be next.
If you guys like the video, make sure to like the video. And if you want to see more racing, car projects, builds, sim racing, we got a lot of good stuff coming up on the horizon. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of that. Thank you guys.